Welcome. This is week 5 of 6 of the sourdough era course. And today we are going to be making sourdough cinnamon rolls. So I'm going to give everyone just a second to come on. If you haven't ever tried my sourdough cinnamon rolls before, they are pretty easy to make. You just mix up the dough the night before, then in the morning, punch it down, roll it out, add your filling, and then let them rise for a little bit longer, and then you're ready to bake them so you can have them fresh in the morning. Sourdough cinnamon rolls are so delicious. I really like the flavor that the sourdough adds to it. They're very soft and fluffy. So I think you guys are really going to like this recipe if you haven't tried it before. This is one of your guys' favorite recipes of mine. So I have lots of different options on my website as far as flavors go. So once you try sourdough cinnamon rolls, you can start experimenting. Some ones I'm coming out with this fall too. I'm also going to have a pumpkin cinnamon roll later this year and a sticky pecan cinnamon roll. But some of the ones I already have on my site, one that's really popular right now is my apple crisp sourdough cinnamon rolls. Those are really good. And then I'm trying to think, what are some of my other ones? I have a cookies and cream chocolate one, a peach cobbler cinnamon roll. I'm blanking on the other ones, but there's lots of options on my website that you can find at countryroadsourdough.com. So like all of the other of the 5 of the 6, I will be sending out an email tomorrow with a recap of what we talked about today. I will save this live as well, so you can always come back to it later on. If you're just joining, we are making sourdough cinnamon rolls today. So we're going to go ahead and get started. You really don't need many things to get going. So the main ingredients, I'm just going to read it off. So we have milk, butter, egg, sugar, salt, our active starter, and all-purpose flour. So you don't need a lot to start, and I like to use a stand mixer, but you can also knead it by hand. Let me grab my scale, and we'll get started. I made another batch of cinnamon roll dough, so that's why my KitchenAid bowl looks dirty, because I didn't clean it, because why clean it when I'm just making more cinnamon roll dough? Okay, so we're going to start with 310 grams of milk, and this is warmed. Again, you can find this recipe on my website. It's called my overnight sourdough cinnamon rolls. So you can find the recipe there. So we're going to add in our 310 grams of warmed up milk. I just microwave it. I got my melted butter too. This is 1/4 of a cup, 57 grams. Okay, now I'm going to add my active sourdough starter. So this starter was actually ready to go early this morning, but since we weren't doing this till noon, I just put my active starter into the fridge, and then you can just pull it from the fridge and use it directly from the fridge. So that's what we're going to do here. And we're going to do 200 grams of active starter. And your starter should be nice and bubbly. So what I like to do is I'll feed my starter usually like in the morning or mid-afternoon, and then to have it ready, like right before bed, I will mix up my cinnamon rolls. Okay, so that was 200. Okay, then I'm gonna add 100 grams of sugar. And if you guys have any questions along the way, you can pop them into the chat. Okay, there's 100 grams of sugar. And then we're going to do 5 grams of salt. And then we're going to do 650 grams of all-purpose flour. And if you wanted to, you could swap your all-purpose for bread flour if you prefer. While I'm adding this in, I did just share a new recipe today on my blog. It's a sourdough, well, it's brown butter, sourdough, pumpkin chocolate chip cookies, and they're so good, you guys. You have to try that recipe. Okay, get to 650. There we go. Black probably wasn't a good option with flour. And now I'm going to mix this, and you can mix this one in your KitchenAid. I usually don't have any issues with that, so let me grab my mixer. Oh wait, I forgot my egg. 1 egg. Okay. Let's see how far this one can reach. There we go. Okay. This is my dough hook. Again, I mixed cinnamon roll dough already. That's why this is dirty. It's just more cinnamon roll dough. Okay, so we're just gonna put this on here and we're gonna mix it on low for about 5 minutes. What am I baking? I'm baking my overnight sourdough cinnamon rolls. This is from my website. So we're gonna mix up this dough. I'm gonna show this to you, and then we're gonna roll out some dough that I already have prepped. So like I was saying, lots of good recipes as far as cinnamon rolls go. That's already on my site, but you really need to try the apple crisp ones this fall while the apples are still in season. So delicious. Okay, so what we're looking for when this dough is ready is it's going to be very soft, pliable, and it shouldn't be overly sticky. If your dough is really sticky, a couple of reasons that could be is number one, your starter could be past its peak. So if it's like it started to fall back down already, usually that can create a stickier dough. So that could be one option. Some of the flours just absorb more water than others. So if you notice, you know, your dough is super, super sticky, you can always add a little bit more flour. Yeah, the apple crisp one is so good. My KitchenAid isn't sounding great. I mixed dough in it earlier and it was fine. Okay, I'm worried about that. This is why I don't really like my KitchenAid for doughs. I usually use my Bosch mixer, but I didn't really want to get my Bosch out. We're just gonna knead by hand for a minute or two. So this is the texture right now. It's not sticky. We're just gonna get it a little bit softer. Hold on one second, I'm gonna grab gloves. I have a really, really sensitive skin, so whenever I work with dough, I need to wear gloves because my hands get irritated and itchy if I don't. Okay. I feel like this live snuck up on me because my 3-year-old is home with a runny nose today, so he didn't go to preschool. So he's watching a show right now. Told him to be quiet. Okay, so we're just kneading this dough to get it nice and soft. This is going to make 12 cinnamon rolls. And I did make some dough earlier that I'm gonna show you. And that one I just did a half because I don't need this many cinnamon rolls at my house. So I did a half batch. And if you ever wanna do a half batch, I did add, because there is only 1 egg, so that can make it tricky when you're trying to half the recipe. But I went ahead and halved it, and I still added my egg, and it just needed a little bit more flour. But it came together, so I think it'll bake up just fine. So that's a little tidbit if you only wanted 6 cinnamon rolls instead of 12. See how soft and smooth that this dough is starting to become? That's what we're looking for. You don't have to knead, we're not gonna knead this all the way to window pane. As long as it's nice and soft, that's what we're looking for. Somebody's asking, do these measurements convert to cups and teaspoons, or is it always grams? So I always start in grams on my recipes, but you'll notice with all of my recipes on my website, I also provide cups and teaspoon and tablespoon measurements in there as well at the end. So it'll say like 200 grams sourdough starter, and then it will show right after that, the cup measurement of that. So you can always use cups if you prefer. Are these gloves reusable, washable? Yeah, I mean, they're just like basic plastic gloves. But I could do, like, I can wash these, and if I wanted to, I could reuse them. So usually I'll just kind of keep these hanging out for the day as I'm making lots of different things in my kitchen. And then at the end of the day, I toss them. But I mean, you could hold on to them longer as long as they don't tear. I don't see why not. These come in like a pack of 100. I've tried lots of different ones off Amazon. They all work well. I've never had an issue with any of them. Okay. See this dough here? Nice and soft. Feels pretty pliable. It's kind of what we're looking for. Now we're just gonna go ahead and put it into a container and then cover it, and we will let this rise. So typically what I like to do is I like to do an overnight rise on this, and I just keep it at room temperature. I don't have to find a really warm spot. The only time that this will be an issue is if your kitchen is really, really cold. So if it's low 60s, then that would be more of a concern. Sourdough really struggles with really cool temperatures. But if your kitchen is like 68 to 72 degrees, that's about the right temp. Okay. Somebody's asking, do you have a preferred container type for your sourdough starter? This is the one I love. It's from Kneading. I can link it in the email that I send out afterwards. If you're not on the email list, I will link it in my stories after. And also I will, when I share this reel or this live, I'll also have an automation. If you type in email, it'll send it to you so you can get the recap emails. But this is from Kneading. I like this one. Okay, so now we're gonna put our dough. I didn't grab a container. Actually, you know what? I'm just gonna take the one from my other dough over here. This is my dough that's already done. See, this one's a little bit more sticky because of that extra egg. And you can even see how it's a little bit more yellow. Okay, so I'm just gonna put this one into this, cover it, and then I'm gonna leave it at room temperature. I could leave it overnight. Okay, now I have my dough that is ready to go. To be honest, this one could probably use a little bit longer before shaking it, but we're just gonna go for it. Okay, so I'm gonna lightly flour my surface. What you're looking for when this dough is ready to use, and keep in mind that this is a half batch, so this is why it looks smaller than the other one. But you're looking for this to double in size. It should be like nice and airy. You should be able to like punch it down, and that's when it's ready to shape. Okay, I just wanna make sure I'm not missing any questions. Okay. All right, so we're gonna take this dough and roll it out. With this half one, we're gonna get 6 cinnamon rolls. So you wanna kind of keep it in a rectangle. Let's see, I forget, for a normal one where you have 12, you're rolling it out about 11 to 12 inches by 17 to 18-ish. It doesn't have to be exact by any means. And that just gives you a good idea. Okay, and this rolling pin is from Barlow & Co. I didn't think I had a preference on rolling pins until I got this one, and now I could never use any other rolling pin. It's my favorite. It's really, really long. And it just works very well. I like it so much better than those ones with the handles on the side. So I do have a coupon code for this. I think if you go to their website, it's just Country Road Sourdough is the coupon code, but I'll also link it in my email. Okay, when your dough is, see how my dough keeps bouncing back a lot? Usually if you give this a few minutes to relax, that will help, and then it won't bounce back as much. But just for today's purposes, so you guys aren't just waiting around staring at me, just gonna keep working with it. Okay. I think that's about good for 6. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna spread our softened butter over top of this. And since this is a half, we're just gonna do half a stick of butter. Okay, and then we'll just spread this out on here. I should have used a spatula because now my hands are gonna be covered in butter as I'm getting my sugars. That's okay. Okay, and we're just gonna cover the whole thing. That's nice and delicious and buttery. Okay, let me rinse my hands. This was a stupid idea. Yeah, never mind. That butter is really stuck on there. Okay, and then we're gonna do, for the middle, we're gonna do a cup of brown sugar, and then, let's see. Sorry, I'm halving everything. So half a cup of brown sugar, and then we're going to do, I'm gonna do a full tablespoon of cinnamon. Okay, somewhere I put a bowl, and we're just going to mix this together. Has anyone that's joining us live made my cinnamon rolls before? It's hard to keep up with the who's all joining. Okay, and then we're gonna add a half a cup of brown sugar. Gonna mix that up. I know, using a measuring cup is so official. The Food Network's gonna watch this and be like, this girl needs a show. Just kidding. Okay, so we're gonna take this mixture and we're just gonna spread it around. Kind of covering the whole thing. You don't want any rims or anything, because you don't want any of your slices to not have. So this next part is up to you what you want to do. I kind of go back and forth both ways, but I think my new favorite way is the way I'm going to show you. And that's to cut these before I roll it. I just feel like when you cut it first, they just come out prettier. So it's not that the other way doesn't work. I think these come out nicer. Okay, I saw a question. Okay. Okay, now we're just going to divide this into 6, and what you should do is measure it and then divide that, by 6 or 12 or however big of a batch you're doing. Keep in mind, I've halved this recipe, so this is why we're only getting 6. When you do my recipe and you do a full thing, it'll make 12. I just didn't want 600 cinnamon rolls at home. Okay, I have flour everywhere. All right, so we are going to slice this in half. What you should do is, measure this so they're all even, but I'm just going to eyeball it because my family doesn't care if they're even or not. And okay, we're gonna do about that. So I'm just gonna slice it here. I'm just using a pizza cutter. Shout out to my husband's work for the cheap pizza cutter. It actually works pretty well. Okay, slice it again and slice it again. Okay, so now I've made my 6 slices and now I'm going to roll these up. I feel like I can get these tighter this way and just like cleaner looking. But your other option, instead of cutting it at this point, is you can roll up the whole entire dough. And then what I like to use, instead of squishing it down with something like a bench scraper is to use dental floss to get the cuts cleaner so they don't smush as bad. But I think this is my new favorite way, is to just roll them up individually. Okay, so there's one. I made that one pretty large. It's okay. Here's two. I'll show you one. See how the swirl, I just like how it swirls with this option. Oh my gosh, I did not cut these even at all. It's fine. See? It's pretty little swirls. Then after we have all of these, what we're going to do is put them into a pan. Now my regular full recipe I would do in a 9x13. I don't recommend, you can use glass, but I don't like to use glass. I find everything just bakes better in a darker pan. If you use glass, just note that you'll probably want to add on a couple extra minutes to your bake time. Just because it typically will bake a little bit slower in a glass pan. Okay, and here's my sixth one. Okay, I'm just gonna do it in a little round pan. Like this. This pan's from Caraway. I really like Caraway so far. I've been testing them for a few weeks, and I really liked the quality of the pans. I'm hoping they hold up for the long term. Okay, I'm just gonna spray this with nonstick. You could use butter or something if you don't want to use a nonstick spray. And then you are just going to put them so that the swirl is up. Man, I really made these very tall. Okay, this pan's too big. That's a little bit of a crap show. You know, usually I don't half my recipe. We're just going for it at this point. Okay, so here's my 6. And then just have your loose end kind of towards the pan so it stays sealed. Okay, and then here's my 6, and now what I would do is cover these, and then I'm going to let them rise. It just depends how warm of a spot they're in until they're filling the pan. They look puffy. That's when they're ready to bake. So then while they're baking, that's when you make your cream cheese frosting. You'll just beat together butter and cream cheese. You want to use softened, and that way it's easier to get that smooth. Huh. Someone says Caraway says not to use spray on their pans because it ruins the nonstick. Well, I didn't know that. That's good to know. I should do a little research on that. Oops, I've been doing that. Okay, you'll make your icing, ice them, and that's it. I feel like cinnamon rolls are actually really easy to make. I hope through this video you see that. You just knead it for a couple minutes, let it rise overnight. In the morning, punch it down, roll it out, add your cinnamon, sugar, and your butter, roll them, put them in the pan, let them rise a little bit longer, and then bake them. And then just add your frosting on top. And that's it. Do you guys have any questions? Next week is our last week of the Sourdough Eras course. We are going to be making sandwich bread, and my son is coming out. Briar, go back in the bedroom.
I'm going to go to the bathroom.
Okay. Yes, so next week will be the last one. We're going to be covering sourdough sandwich bread. It'll be same time, 12 p.m. next Wednesday. And that will be our last one. So thanks for joining me over the last 6, well, I guess now we've done 5 weeks of them. And like I said, join my email list, and that's where you'll be able to find the recap and links for everything that we talked about, as well as the recipe. Okay, and what temperature do you use? I'm assuming to bake these at, you mean? And I do it at 350, and they bake for 27 to 30 minutes. Let me double check that, but I made these so many times. Yeah, 350, 25 to 30 minutes is how long you're gonna bake them for. And these are really so good. I'm excited for you guys to try them. And I'm not seeing any other questions, so I'm going to hop off. Thanks for joining. I will save this live if you want to refer back to it. And happy baking. Have a good day.